Okay, what's good? Welcome to another video. Um, Not much going on today, honestly. I have my laptop down here because what I want to talk about, I've written about, and it's been kind of like something that I've noticed over the past couple of days, couple of weeks, as I've just been reflecting and all. I've noticed that modern day relationships have been falling apart. And I'm not going to say this and sound like some sort of cynic person who has given up on love. But the way that things just look these days is just kind of, awkward, weird. And that's mostly dialed down to the fact that all of us are kind of living selfish lives. And when we start living selfish lives, then it becomes like, oh, it's all about me. It's never about the next person. It's never about how the other person would feel. Back then, we used to have people look out for each other in a sense, because our ancestors used to live in communities, right? So they always used to look up to each other. But when it's come to today, everyone just looks out for themselves. And that's kind of what's dialed down to people using a lot of words that mean one thing, but then the way they say it is meaning another. So usually people feel threatened and they feel some type of way and they end up saying things to you that are negative in a sense. And it's usually people trying to say you violate the way I should be treated. And today, that sense is much more built on personal boundaries rather than shared external values. So people validate who they are before there is a sense of human beings or shared experiences, shared values among people. So the person you might be dating has their own way, whereas you also have your own way. And then what's shared between the two of you becomes what's less important. So usually, this thread dials down to pointing out like a few things where it's someone states boundaries. A lot of relationships these days are built on people stating their boundaries. And then when those boundaries are broken, it's like if you do it again, then you're threatening our relationship. You're threatening me, my values, and I can't stand being with you. And usually it's like you violate basic expectations with your intentions or playing mind games, love bombing and then vanishing. And then that doesn't sit well with the next person. And then the next person has to call you out on their personal boundaries as well. Because, and then there's like social media behavior and public humiliation. How people view these things is very different depending, I would say, on how you see yourself. You would not be humiliated by some things if you have always had a sense of value to yourself that's intrinsic and is not external. So you don't need other people to validate you per se. But now there are a few universal scripts on exactly how people should be interacting with each other or how they should be dating. So people just use specific words or say specific things to give moral weight to things that might be, at some sense, vibes lib for judgment. So it's just people feeling devalued by themselves, and then it's not my preference. So if it's not your preference, usually a person tries labeling it as something that is wrong when it's just a preference. It's just the same thing as choosing the person who you're going to be with. Just because you chose a specific person doesn't mean that dating another person is wrong. So those preferences are all a part of how people feel threatened in relationships. And I feel like social media has like amplified this, because once you hop on social media and say, yeah, if your partner does one, two, or three things, it means they don't love you. And that social media post, that TikTok, that tweet goes viral, it would turn into someone's personal value. It will then give personal disappointment if they go on social media and see things that re-amplify this as well. So because then it becomes shareable. So it's like a shareable moral. And there's everyone saying, oh, here's what you should not tolerate, when sometimes what they're mentioning is extreme behavior. I would always love to point out social media as something that goes to extreme behaviors and then erase them to daily behaviors and then tries nullifying them. So from that external rules to then becoming personal boundaries, and it's what people feel like they share. Usually in past eras or still in some cultures today, dating was usually structured around family involvement and community norms, things like clearer pathways where you would go from courting to engagement to marriage. And there were like gendered scripts, I would say, where it's like, oh, men would pursue, women would gatekeep, and then the sex after marriage, and then there were proper dates and timelines. And all of this has been disrupted. Sometimes you choose the things that you want to follow, and sometimes you choose those which you don't want to follow. And in that sort of sense, that's where the disruption happens, because sometimes you might look for something that is in proper dates and timelines when you have discarded like the gender specific roles or the pathways in courting, marriage, engagement, and all. And that family involvement and community norm is what used to make society. So those external rules used to be the ones that would define what would threaten your relationship. So, for example, if a guy didn't ask for the father's blessing, then they would have disrespected someone's family and they wouldn't be able to engage in courtship with their fiance. And failing to provide or to protect as a man usually would then be considered as something that's taboo for you to do in a relationship. And then a woman ruining the family's reputation by doing certain things would be regarded as them not only disrespecting or going against the norms of their relationship, but their family as well. And there were things like cheating and then breaking religious or community codes. These used to be the things which defined who we were. Not saying that they were the best things to be there, but all I'm saying is they used to be like a shared perspective on how people engage in partnership. And then those would define the morals of people. And then so they when now two different people meet from two different areas, what they experience are two different things, even though they are in the same relationship. So now dating is more individualistic. It's more about you, and there's no single script. People will negotiate what is normal, and couple by couple, people will try to communicate what this means to them. So, what's threatening to your relationship in one point is usually violating someone's boundaries, even if society doesn't care. Then, if it's agreed upon between the two of you, then yeah, then you know then it threatens your relationship. And two people can see the same act differently. One can call the thing disrespect, and the other can just call it just casual dating. And then there is that whole bridge of when then do you make the bridges of societal norms and what you'd have agreed. So from society's rules to personal boundaries experiences, that's where exactly I think we kind of lost the plot. And then back then we used to, you know, we used to have older couples that would be centered around duty, stability, roles, being a good provider, being a good homekeeper, raising children, and keeping marriages intact, right? And modern dating tends to center around emotional safety and mental health, feeling chosen, seen, and prioritized, whatever that means for you personally, and authenticity and self expression. So, back in 1950, a husband working late every night might have been framed as just doing his duty more than disrespecting his wife's emotional needs or physical needs. But in 2026, that canceling of dates or being emotionally unavailable sometimes is being disrespectful to a relationship, because relationships are supposed to honor feelings and time, not just roles. So the same behavior might have been tolerated and normalized back then, but then in today's day, it is read as disrespectful, because now the purpose of dating or two people meeting each other has fundamentally shifted. So, in a village or a small town back then, your dating pool would usually be limited. So, reputation mattered because it was local, and leaving a relationship had big, like, societal costs because people usually didn't know each other. But now dating apps can create an illusion and maybe sometimes a reality that you have endless options. You meet a lot of people in uni or on your apps and whatnot, social clubs and whatnot. So you feel like you have abundance. But in reality, we know there is no abundance of good people to date. So people are willing to just walk away super, super early. And online discourse spreads all these standards and non negotiables. And since people are already dating online, they might as well just follow the online standards in it. So something that might have been framed as annoying but normal back then, someone replying slow, someone being just a bit flaky, someone making mistakes sometimes, is now narrated as you are completely disregarding my time and you are completely not aware of how to do things the way I like to do them, because we are constantly reminded on social media that you don't have to put up with it. And most of your friends, if they're doom scrollers, then they will remind you that you don't have to put up with it. So now it's from based off not a community judgment, this dating thing, it's now audience judgment. It's like mainly before it would be your family, friends, or perhaps even a church. But now when you're dating, everyone's involved, including the TikTok creator who you have never met and will never get close to. Your followers on Instagram are also involved. Your friends, their friends, and even your family might be involved, but in the sense that they also are on TikTok and they're also doom scrolling and all that. So it becomes so much so performative and protective for you to be able to see a threat in your relationship as early as possible. It signals to your audience, it makes you validate with the creator that you've been seeing that, oh look, I have standards. Even around the people around you, it says, oh look, I have standards. And it positions the person who you're dating as morally in the wrong, and not just like a bad fit. It's not, oh, we were not compatible. It's that person was totally broken. They had issues and they needed to be fixed. When sometimes it's just the two of you not working out for each other. That's why the words that people use that are too heavy these days, they feel so prevalent because they're viral ready language. Viral ready language is a lot of words. And I've started to kind of hate using specific words because they are viral already. And as soon as you say them, it's like everyone will pay attention to you and everyone will see you as being in the right. So it feels so overused now, these emotionally damaging and viral ready language, because people love it and it's emotionally very strong, but it's very vague. So you can be one person who throws one word out so much that you don't have time to articulate the exact harm. um, you just have a single word that covers everything. You use one word to cover everything. You just say you're not good for me to cover a lot of things that you would want your partner to improve, but you're not really saying out loud. And the second thing is people love because these specific words that they use to express the threatening of a relationship is moralizing. So it moves the conversation from I'm hurt and I could move like this from me being hurt to you violated a principle. So it moralizes you and then points fingers at the next person, which is easier to rally around. It's always easier to point your fingers at the next person, right? And it feeds the self respect narrative where it's like, if you accept specific things, you don't love yourself enough. When you could love yourself enough to know when you need your partner to improve, like it's a thing that happens. It's what sometimes society tried teaching us, even though it felt forced. I'm not saying what society was back then was all good. It would feel forced, but now there's a self-respect narrative where it's like you let this slide, then you don't respect yourself, you don't know who you are, and you don't know what you need. And it gives a way for people to just reject incompatible behavior without trying to make it long or philosophical. So people, instead of like getting in depth in conversation with each other, they just like, oh well, you did this, so I'm out. It broke my boundary, so I'm out. When there could be conversations that could have had it, you can always leave someone with them knowing what exactly they have done to you and where exactly they have damaged you, where exactly they have damaged themselves, and how they can be better, without you just saying, oh, you did this, so I'm out. There is always a way for that. So the language that's viral ready, I like the I don't know where I got viral ready, but viral ready language, it it helps people kind of not really name real mistreatment, and it gets used as a catch-all insult for any behavior that triggers your insecurities, your disappointment, or simply doesn't match your preferred script. So the thing that you have to think about is viral ready behavior, viral ready language is nothing new. But in modern dating, it's anchored now because of personal boundaries, emotional safety, self worth, and it doesn't extend to society, it doesn't extend to community values or social values. So people do not really care now about society, they mostly care about themselves. That's a good thing, but it can also come to your harm. And back in the day, romance was mostly threatened by breaking community norms, gender roles, and family expectations. So now it's more of, like I said, your personal thing. And today's dating culture, which is one of the things which I genuinely am not for usually, but I don't know, people who use it, I'm not shaming you. But apps, social media, therapy language, and individualism, it gives a popular label for viral ready language to be used all over, with this whatever is happening violates the way I should be treated. And even when there is nothing agreed upon, it's like I deserve to be treated like this, so everyone should be treating me like this. When you could get out of yourself and genuinely realize that you are not the main character, and you also need to be understanding of other people. So yeah, that's just what I've thought about on modern dating and viral ready language and how it's used on people's personal needs now. In dating, there's a lot to figure out, I would say, but one of the things to figure out is whether you are threatened individually or you are just threatened because of what you've seen on social media or what you've read about. This is part of it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you learned something from it, whether it be about you or be about the person, people around you, or even for your next relationship. You could establish clear behavior, boundaries, and whatever it is that you like to call it, without having just yourself be included in that and be selfish in that, but also the other person. Because dating is never just about you, it's also about what the other person needs. Cheers. Love you always, and I hope you have a great week.